Welcome to the V-Twin Life, another milepost where we're going down the highway, talk with people who just enjoy motorcycles and why the heck we enjoy life on two wheels. V-Twin Life is brought to you by Crash In Clothing, better known as Crash Inc. across the World Wide Web. Man, these guys got a lot of great products. Brad is a dealer for many places. You guys can check him out. Great guy out of the Pacific Northwest down in Dallas, Oregon. So hey, if you need something, man, hit up Crash Inc. They got what you need. And we can't forget Wild Ass. Tell you what, I'm a commercial truck driver, and these Wild Ass cushions are made for more than just motorcycles. Anywhere you're going to plant your tush, dude, get a Wild Ass under it. Make yourself comfortable. You can't forget Custom Dynamics. You want to put some great lights in your bike. You want to be seen. You want to see what you're doing at night. Hey, check out Custom Dynamics. They got a lot of great stuff. Hey, can't forget Metier Motorcycle Lawyers. These guys aren't just attorneys, but these are guys that ride. You get in an accident, you need some help, get a hold of Metier. These guys are great. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into another milepost of the V-Twin Life. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Sunday here in the V-Twin Life. Tonight we got milepost 160 with Sean TheFed Johnson. I think one thing I love about these ones, it's always cool getting another guy from, the Pacific Northwest. It's fun, I think, talk with somebody when they know the area, and you might know some of the roads you're talking about just when you get somebody from the own region. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So Sean, thanks for taking time out of your Sunday to come hang out.
Hey, Denver, thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Heck yeah. No, it'll be a lot of fun. It's like, it's a lot of fun for me. We've been Facebook friends for a while, and we have that camaraderie and that common ground. So we both enjoy motorcycles. So it's like, hey, let's hang out and, do this kind of not face-to-face, but, we can do a face-to-face over a computer. Hopefully, we'll meet up here this summer sometime. But no, man, thank you. So we'll dive into this like, we'll start them like we always do is, how'd you get into motorcycles, man? Where'd it come into life for you?
Well, I started riding when I was a kid. My dad got me a little Honda 50 and a little dirt bike. And that was, back in the 80s, early 80s. And started riding that. And then he ended up with Honda. And I'm forgetting what it was. But my buddies had bikes, and we were, doing just dirt everywhere we could go in Southern California. And Team Green, Johnson's for Kawasaki, was right down the street from me, and they were riding motocross. I'd go down and hang out and everything. And then growing up, I was just always around them. And as kids, we used to lived in Ventura, and would ride down to the clubhouse for HA and hang out until they kicked us out of the street and tell us to run off. You're always wondering, what are those biker guys doing, So just the culture and being around motorcycles. And then when I was in the Navy, my main mode of transportation when I was stationed in San Francisco was an 83 Goldwing that I bought from a guy that was in really good condition, and that was just my main mode of transportation for a few years there. Then I sold that, and I got an 86 Nighthawk that I had when I was in Long Beach, and rode that around. I had a truck too, so Nighthawk wasn't my main ride, but just always. Let's see. I've had a few motorcycles. It took a break for a little while, and then one afternoon, it was the 06. Decided to take the wife to dinner in Salem, and went to took her to Olive Garden. And afterwards, she's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Oh, let's go up to cycle country up there and just look at motorcycles." Well, 2 hours later, I'm rolling out with a Suzuki Boulevard and driving home. And this is like November time frame going back to the Oregon coast. And all I had was a Carhartt jacket and some garden gloves. And I'm going through the corridor with that thing. And man, that was the coldest ride that I have ever taken in my life. When we get about halfway through the corridor in a Grand Ron, and I'm signaling, pull over, she pulls over and at Grand Ron, and I go running over to the truck, and I've got my hands up on the dashboard to try and unfreeze them, but just started riding out a lot. And the Free Souls are down there and riding kind of with those guys and some support clubs and buddies. And then got rid of that. And a friend of mine, that I knew real well and went to college with for a little while, had an 07 electra glide, police special. And he ended up wrecking that. His contractor pulled left in front of him, and Herman T-boned that truck. And I called him on a Friday night. I said, "Hey, what you doing?" He says, "I'm in the hospital." And so I went out to see him and help him out and everything. A couple weeks. Well, I asked him, "Well, where's the bike at?" Because I love that bike. The bike was phenomenal bike. And had hooker pipes on it, super loud and just really neat. And so, "Where's the bike at?" And he said, "Oh, they impounded it." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm staying. I'm going to go get it." So I went and got a trailer and got it out of impound for him, took it to his house. And a couple weeks goes by. I'm like, "What are you doing with the bike?" And he says, "Oh, well, the insurance company totaled it. You want it?" And I said, yeah, I'll take it. For $1,000, I got that bike. And it's the only thing wrong with it is the front forks were bent in and the tank was bent. Bags were shot on the right side, and front fairing was messed up. But the motor, which was brand new, he had just had it rebuilt and with a bigger cam in it, and transmission was brand new. All that was fine. So I rebuilt that bike and that was my first Harley, and started riding that all the time. And then I was riding with buddies, and they kept talking about doing 1,000 miles in 24 hours. And this is, by this time now, I've been riding that bike for a while. This had to be like 2023. And I'm like, man, I'd really like to do that. And so I ended up doing my first saddle sore on that 07, and got done with that, and I got the bug for long distance. It was so that's kind of in a nutshell my background on bikes. Now I'm riding a 24. I sold that 07 and I got a 24, which is a whole nother story.
Which Boulevard did I had the C50T. I actually had a 2006 silver and black.
I had the silver C50.
Yeah.
And with the beach bars on there. I love that bike. That was a great bike.
I did too. I had the 36-inch beach bars on it, and no, they were a good bike. And for, they kind of made them, they were cheaper to get into, they had the plastic fenders on them, but they look metal, the full swooping fenders. And no, that was a great bike. I put a lot of miles on that one.
Yeah. Brand new, $6,000. I mean, you can't beat it. It's
no.
Yeah. It's for what it is, and the power that they had. I think it was either Motorcycle Magazine. I think it was Motorcycle Magazine or Road and Track in 06, and I think in 07 rated that the #1 bike for canyon running on the touring side. I mean, I think my father-in-law showed me an article. He goes, "Hey, look at this. This is the bike you got," and he goes, "It says it's the #1 bike." I'm like, wow, it sure is fun to ride. I was riding that. My folks have property up in Siletz, and I was living out on the coast. And so I'd take the river road on that. And every single time I go up that road, I'd try and beat the time, go a little faster. And yeah, we get a little ignorant on that bike. That was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good handling bike. I remember, I put a 200 Avon on the rear, and no, I think it was great. I had a lot of fun. Some Cobra slash cuts on it, get a little bit more noise, and just enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great bike. certainly
So when
loved
you
it.
got into the, kind of got the bug for long distance, what was what really turned you on about it and really sparked it for you?
Well, I ride with a bunch of friends that all live out in Lincoln County on the coast out there. I was living out there too, and they're all talking about doing 1,000 miles in 24 hours and how crazy that is. And and I'm thinking, yeah, that's the most longest I had ever ridden in a day was maybe like 300 miles. Um, and so I just kept hearing this, and thinking about it. And finally I'm like, you know what? I got to do this because nobody else has done it here that I know of. And I gotta do this. So I mapped out, I was gonna go from here down to Reno and then cross over to I-5 and come back up. That seemed like a pretty good route, and pretty quick, to a lot of interstate, state highway idea. And this was July. Let's say I got to look at the plaque. That was July 24. So I come up, I picked a date to do it, and I'm coming close to that date that week, and I'm looking at the weather, and it's 115 degrees in Red Bluff. Reno's 116. Everything, it's just, you look at the weather map and it's just red. And I'm thinking, that's psycho. I'm not going down through that weather like that. So I remapped it and went up to Lewiston, Idaho, and wrapped and actually did it. I got up midnight, whatever, took off, went up to Lewiston, wrapped around down to Riggins, and went to Ontario, and then back. And I did it. I did that first saddle sore in, it was like 22. I have to look at the time. It was like 22 hours. It was, and I got back in the garage that night, and I got off the bike, and I thought to myself, I'm done. I mean, I was having such a blast. And I'm like, I just did 1,000 miles, man. That's in less than 24 hours. So then, I submit for it I join IBA, and I submit for it and everything, and I get the plaque. Man, that was the coolest feeling. I had done it, and then a couple months later, this was August, or September. My uncle had passed away in Torrance, California, and he was having a celebration of life down there. And I told the wife, I go, you know what? This is another opportunity. I'm going to take the bike instead of driving down there. We were going to go as a family, and it ended up not happening. And I said, well, I'm still going. I'm going to take the bike, and I'm going to do a saddle sore on the way down, and I'm going to do a saddle sore on the way back. And she's like, okay, that sounds cool. So I went down, saddle sorted. I cut across, went backside of Reno. I think that's Highway 395, and then came in, and stopped and went to the celebration of life. And then I'm get back to the hotel, and I'm thinking, you know what? I could do a bun burner gold from here. I could swing out from here, and I could go to Vegas and then up through Salt Lake and wrap around. I mean, that'll get me 1,500 miles on the way back. That's better than a saddle sore. I see if I can do that in 24 hours. So I took off, and I did that. And that didn't end up being a bun burner gold. That ended up being a bun burner silver. And that 07, I left Simi Valley on the way to Vegas, and all of a sudden the bike shuts off. And I look down, and I had just passed a line of like 10 semis that are nut to butt going out I-15, and I'm doing 95, and I had blown past them. I just get past the lead semi, and the bike just completely shuts off. I'm like, what the hell, So now I'm looking at it, and I squeezed in between these two semis and got off the highway, and I noticed that the ignition switch was glitching out. Like I'd touch it and the bike would turn on, and I'd, fiddle with it and it would shut off. So I took that apart and I got back together, and it seemed like it was okay. Got back on the highway, and I get about 2 miles, bike shuts off again. And back and forth with this thing. And I end up, it happened about 12 times. And I'm thinking,
Oh,
I got to stop.
Jesus.
I got to stop in Vegas. I got to find. So I'm on my phone trying to figure out where the Vegas Harley dealership is. No idea. Luckily, there's that one right off of Paradise, right off the highway, right there, right downtown, right off the strip. So I pull in there at 8:55. They open at 9. Guy's out there smoking a cigarette, and I go, "Hey man, it's you work here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I told him what happened, and he kind of chuckles, and he goes, "Yeah, well, good luck. Just go in and talk to service in there." So I went in and I said, "Hey, I got something going on with the electrical system on this bike. I think it's the ignition switch. I think it's in the skewer for the switch itself." I told him what I was doing. He's like, "Yeah, we can get you in 2 weeks." And I go, "Hold on, man." I told him what I was doing. I'm like, "I just left Simi Valley and I'm trying to get back to Oregon and do a bun burner gold." And he's like, "What?" And I said, 1,500 miles in less than 24 hours. And the guy's eyes, he's like, "You're doing what? Wait a second." And he goes, "Well, hold on. Let me talk to my service manager." And the service manager comes out. I tell him the story. And the service manager's like, "We'll get you back on the road." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to bump a bike off the rack. We'll get you on there. We'll figure it out and we'll get you back on the road." So I'm there for 2 hours. I'm sitting there in Vegas Harley. The lead tech comes out and he goes, "Well, I got good news and bad news." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "The good news, we found the problem. And it's the ignition switch, and the connector down in the bottom is, it's almost, it's 20 years old, and it's brittle and it's coming apart, and we can fix that." And I said, "What's the bad news?" He goes, "Nobody makes the part anymore." And he goes, I have one maybe at another shop, but I don't know if I can get it here." And he goes, "You're kind of dead in the water." I said, "Well, it's a switch, man. Put the thing back together with bubble gum and duct tape. I don't care. Get me back on the road." And he goes, "Well, we can't do that." And he says, "We got to use Harley parts and we got, liability." And I said, "Can you put it back together and just tape it together and get me on the road? I'll assume all liability for it. I'm not holding you guys to anything." I said, "Can I go back in there and put it back together?" And he says, "Well, give me 15 minutes. And 15 minutes goes by. He comes back out and he goes, "I just rolled your bike out. It's running." He goes, "But you're going to have to sign a disclaimer." And he goes, go talk to service." So I got the invoice somewhere. It's like 3 paragraphs of, "We didn't really fix your bike," and but they
Like,
got
just
me
give me a
on the
toggle
road.
switch.
Yeah, it's a 3-pin connector, and it just backed out, and they're, a male and female connector. So, smash the thing together, stick it, and wrap the thing up. But that's what they did. I ended up buying the part and fixing it when I got home. But so I lost 2.5 hours in Vegas and got the bike back on the road. So I rode through Salt Lake and up, Meridian, up I-84. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning, and or no, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm dropping into the gorge. And then I come across the hill down to the water in the gorge, heading west on I-84, and it's
Oh yeah.
blowing 45 knots, just wind solid. There's debris and rocks and shit coming up off of the road at me, and I'm behind the fairing, just, and I look down, and I had gauged my fuel. I could get about 168 miles on that tank. And I had gauged to the Dalles 161 miles and that's where I was going to get a fill up. And I'm thinking to myself, this headwind, I can't keep it in 5th gear. I mean, I'm fighting the whole way, right?
I've done that before, coming
Holy
through that
crap.
same area wide open, and I can't get more than 60 miles an hour. And if I let off my throttle on my road glide, it was like I was slamming on the brakes, and then it couldn't get the speed back.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's psycho. And so I'm going, and I start worrying. I'm watching my fuel gauge just drop. And so I'm on my phone. I'm like, is there fuel anywhere between here and the Dalles? And it's like, nope, nope. And so I'm going, I'm like, well, it is what it is. I'm here, so I'm riding, and I ran out of fuel 1 mile from Rufus, and Rufus has a Sinclair.
Yep.
And the reason why I know that it's
I got a
1
receipt
mile,
from that gas station.
yeah, I knew it was 1 mile because I ran out of fuel at the blue sign that says fuel 1 mile. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, it's 1 mile. So I hop off the bike, and if anybody's been on I-84, that emergency lane isn't a lane. It's like 5 foot wide, and I'm on the side of the road, so I'm on the left side of the bike, pushing the bike. So I'm basically in traffic right on the white line, pushing that bike, 1,200 pounds. And I thought, well, I had it over on the kickstand. Maybe some fuel went because of the pumps on the left side of the tank. So I got it to start up, and I got about 500 feet, and then it ran out of fuel again. So I'm like, well, at least I got 500 feet out of that, So I pushed it basically a mile to Rufus, and I go running up. I'm just pitted out sweat. I'm in full gear, all the rain gear, helmet, everything. I'm just sweating, just dog tired. Been on the bike for almost 22 hours at that point. I'm like, man, I'll go running up there. I come through the door at the Sinclair, and the guy behind the counter didn't say a thing. He just reaches down, grabs the gas can, and puts it on the counter. And he looks at me and he goes, "That headwind's a bitch, isn't it?"
Funny thing.
And I start laughing. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not the only one." He goes, "Oh yeah, it's pretty much daily. Whenever the wind's blowing, somebody runs out of fuel."
You got Frankie Mountains, who just left the Spokane show. Frank, travel safely back home, my guy. But the first year of Monsters Over Mountains, we were coming down that same way, heading for Arlington, Oregon. We hobo camped in a little city park there. And myself and a buddy, fucking Milkweed, we'd hit our 1,000, so we'd got fuel at Love's truck stop a few miles before that. And everybody else like, oh, there's a gas station in Arlington, we'll get fuel there. And we get there. I mean, same thing. We'd been on the road for probably 21 hours to pull into Arlington, Oregon, and the gas station's closed. Everybody was able to get a receipt, but they couldn't get fuel. So everybody's running on vapor, and the plan was, let's get to Rufus. You got Brad Columbus, who's literally drafting Milkweed down the motorcycle lane. I mean, he's like a foot off his bumper. Frank had a 1 gallon can, so he gave Brad a little bit of gas. He put the rest in his, and then Frank, I think he ran out on the side of the road and dumped the last in. I think he barely limped into Rufus for everybody to get fuel that next morning at that Sinclair. Oh yeah, we'd experienced that. It's funny, that same stretch too.
It goes nuclear with the wind there in the gorge. That is my least favorite stretch of highway. If I can avoid I-84, if I can go anywhere else to get, where I need to go besides taking I-84, I'll do it. I don't care if it takes me 200 miles out of the way. I'm just, that is, and what's funny is, Harley Owners Group, the scenic byway ride is I-84. It's that stretch, going out to the Dalles. So I don't know.
I would rather hop on the other side of the Columbia and hit 14 and just, it's slower, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's more scenic.
Well, it's, it's not so much the road. It's the idiots that are on the road there. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if everybody was traveling. Like you get 80 I-84 from Ontario down to Salt Lake. That's all right. Everybody's doing, this, it's 80 speed limit. Everybody's doing 90. But there's the mentality in the gorge in there is you get these people that are pulling trailers that cut you off. It's dangerous. It's dangerous just from the tourist traffic, I think is.
Well, that, and I think like you talked about with the wind and with, Oregon being legal for triple trailers, you get those semis with triples and you get the wind going, and man, those things they'll whip and move around. And it's like, I want to be nowhere behind or beside them. It's like, get me in front of them. I'll feel better. But yeah, that can be a daunting area to ride through. I mean, it does got some, some beautiful scenery along the river, some neat things, but
it's gorgeous.
Dude, it's its own little weather system through there.
It is. Yeah. Well, there's a reason why there's a ton of kiteboarders there at Hood River. It's just nuclear all the time. But yeah. I pulled off. So running out of gas, that set me back an hour or so. So I'm flying. I'm looking at the clock, and I've got like 30 minutes to get to Woodburn, and to make it, that would be my mark for the 1500. And I'm like, this isn't going to happen. This isn't. I was all bummed out. I had no idea that there was such a thing as a bun burner silver, which puts you at 30 hours for 1500.
The bun burner, then the silver, then the gold.
Yeah. So I just, I cooked it, and that ride. So I tell everybody, when you're doing long distance or you're doing a significant ride, the most dangerous portion of that ride is the last 15 to 20 miles of it. Always. You're dog tired. You're almost home. You've just pounded miles out. You're in tune with your bike. You might be just kind of unaware. You're just like in the zone. Something's going to happen. And it's not going to be you. It's going to be somebody else, or it's going to be something on the road. And I'm on 205, and I'm two cars. You always watch two cars or three cars, everybody ahead of you. Not the car in front of you so much, but who's ahead of them, right? And this 2 cars ahead of me, this little truck, it's early in the morning, and I'm coming down 205, and he had these 2 mattresses on the back, and he lost those mattresses. They just come right out of the back of the truck, and they're coming right at the car in front of me. He swerves, and now I'm looking at 2 mattresses dancing in the air. And I somehow squeezed in between those 2 things. And I'm thinking, wow, man. That was death right there, because I'm cooking right along. I'm being conscious of my speed, Yeah. But I made it back, and then I realized I could get the bun burner silver, and that was it. I pull in the driveway. Back to your initial question about what really got me into long distance. I was so stoked with that I did that. And, and then telling my buddies and stuff, and they're like, you're psycho. You did what? And the story from it. And since then,
adventure.
it's an adventure. It's incredible. And it's anybody who rides knows, for those that haven't done distance, you just, they just ride. It's the freedom of being on the bike, and you get the weather changes and everything. And you're experiencing the geography around you. It's not like being in a cage, And then to do the distance and travel and go places, it's an addiction. It truly is,
for sure.
It gets into your blood, and it's, start really just thinking about when's the next one, when can I go again. And I think since then I've done, I don't know how many saddle sores, so to speak. I don't claim them. I mean, I've got the plaque on the wall.
It gets expensive after a while, but it's like you're talking about the wind and the gorge. You got Fozzie, who freaking take 1 second. The Great Motorcycle Rides of Washington guy, Fozzie's been on the podcast. He's a great dude, but this guy does a lot of work. I mean, he's got a great page. You guys can check it out. You know, people in the Northwest for the Great Motorcycle Rides of Washington. He's now built a Google Calendar, and he's got, I mean, people are looking for an event. You want to go somewhere, check something out. You got to check out the Great Motorcycle Rides of Washington page, because he's got it all laid out. I mean, there's a whole calendar. So if you want to plan and you got going somewhere in the summertime and you're up in the Northwest, like, hey, I wonder if anything's going on. If you're wondering, you can check his page, because he's got everything that's going on for the whole summer. And he's a great guy, loves to ride, and, you know, loves the community and a great supporter of everybody. So check out the Great Motorcycle Rides Washington Facebook page, because Fozzie's got a lot of information. But like you said, that damn bridge on the Hood River sucks in high traffic and high winds.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, for sure.
It's a good time.
So now, you know, we kind of gone to, but we'll dive into that in a minute. But I understand, totally get what you're saying. It's like you get into that long distance. And I think for me, the first time I did my first one, I was, I don't know, 2 hours from, you know, watching my GPS. And it's like, dude, I'm going to be there in 2 hours. And then that, you know, then it's an hour and then a half hour. And, oh, you get that second win, that last 100 miles. And, I remember the first one I did. It was just, it was absolutely awesome. And that boost of energy, and then just feels like, holy shit, I did this. I can actually do it. And, you know, you're testing yourself. And, you know, I think a big thing, anybody getting into it, is just know your body and know when to say, okay, maybe I can't do this tonight. You know, if you're getting too tired, you're sleepy, you know, you just got to know when to say, okay, you know, maybe I need to stop for a few and regroup. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's no sense pushing yourself and then getting yourself into trouble. So I think, you know, be safe with it and just know yourself, but man, have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's you know, as the trips get longer and pushing myself, especially with just seeing where I'm at with something like the Hoka Hey, and how long can I ride? How far can I ride? What the setup is.
Hey, absolutely, Fozzie.
There's knowing your own body and knowing when you're tired or when you're beyond tired, when you're starting to get a lot lucid and it becomes unsafe. And even with stopping and taking a 20-minute nap, stopping and just get off the bike, walk around, you know, get a rest stop or gas station or something, and you know, take the break that you need. It's not really, we're not in competition with anybody. It's you know, we're challenging ourselves and looking for a destination, but the real thing is to have fun. And it isn't any fun when you're, you know, you're dog tired, losing your mind, and that's, I don't see a point in that. You know, my family becomes more important.
Well, it was, you know, many mileposts back with the legendary Go Home Ken made a statement that has just stuck with me. And it's knowing the difference between being tired and being sleepy. He goes, they're two different things. He goes, you got to know the difference. And it's just one of those little pieces of advice that stuck with me.
Right. Yeah.
So, but then now, okay, so you brought up the Hoka Hey. So how did you find it? What inspired you to sign up to attempt that adventure?
So I had done the saddle sore, and a couple years ago, and or I was getting ready to do it or something like that. But anyways, Tim Loco Dickerson had a ride up out of Timbertown Harley in Salem, which is my dealership. And he was doing a promotional ride, and he was that guy right there. Yeah. Love that boy. Yeah. And he was raising money, and getting ready to go on the Hoka Hey. And a couple of my buddies I ride with, they had mentioned it before, and they were like, yeah, this is okay. And I'm like, 10,000 miles in 10 days. That's psycho. and I started to get into long distance. So I went up to the ride. I had no idea. And I met Tim, and ended up at the end of the day, the last poker run stop. Tim's like, hey, I got to get back to the dealership. It's I got to get there quick. Are you leaving right now? I said, yeah, I'll ride with you. And he goes, we're going to ride. And I said, okay. And yeah, that was a fun ride. I don't want to admit anything, but that was fun riding with him. I'm like, I like this guy, man. He knows how to ride. And that was pretty funny. He lost me. And there was a few cars. He lane split and was gone. And I'm like, man, that guy's psycho. And I get to the dealership, and he's like, dude, I've been here for 5 minutes. Where were you at? I'm laughing, but I learned about the Hoka Hey, and it was right after that, though, was I think the Pac West motorcycle show, and up in McMinnville, and at the booth for Law Tigers was a guy talking about mile monsters, and it was Bradley. And good old Fonda. And I saw his bike, and I'm like, the numbers on the side. I'm like, that's a Hoka Hey rider right there. I got to go talk to that guy. And ended up talking to Bradley, and I was asking about the bike and the lights that he's got and his setup and everything, and just super great guy, And I said, so where are you riding next? He goes, oh, I forget exactly where, but it was somewhere far. He's like, yeah, I found this little lunch spot in Kentucky, and we're going to go, me and the wife are going to go out there and have lunch in Kentucky. And I said, when's that? And he goes, Tuesday. And I'm like, what? Tuesday? He goes, yeah, we're just going to go. It sounded like a good place to go have lunch. I'm like, what? And so I really started researching it, and it sounded like something that I wanted to do. And then the 24 happens, Hoka Hey, and I've got Bradley and Loco up on the screen at work, and I'm watching this thing happen. And leaving Daytona, going down to Key West, and I'm watching Hurricane Debbie come up to Key West, and I'm like, this is I got to do this. This is awesome. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I've already got the long distance bug, and I'm like, man, and I was just enamored with it. And I watched Tim and Bradley do it on Riot's up in the lead up there, and I'm watching these guys track across the United States and going up to Homer, Alaska. And I'm like, I've got to get in on this. Whenever it happens next time, I got to do it. This is the ultimate. This is the ultimate. So I kind of made up my mind at that point. And then last year, I get a call. It's like the last week of December, and it's a Saturday, and I get a call from Loco, and he's like, hey, I have this poker run that I'm supposed to be doing this next weekend. I don't think that I'm going to end up doing that. I'm going to go to Tyler, Texas because Loco was riding every day for Mile Monsters 365. And he's like, I'm going to go to Tyler, Texas and turn over the 365. You want to go? And I said, when? And he goes, next Saturday. And I'm sitting on the couch. My wife's sitting next to me. And, it's early in the morning, sitting there with coffee. I got him on speakerphone. And I look at my wife and I go, Tyler, Texas, Saturday. And she goes, I don't know why not. You got it off for work. I mean, you just have to take an extra day off from work and probably be able to do that. You should go do it. I laughed. I'm like, really? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay. So I said, yeah, man, plan for it. I'll be with you. Let's go to Tyler, Texas. And so, I'm riding my 07 at that point. And it's I had full faith in that bike. The bike was awesome. And so that next Saturday we bail out and we're running down. We're running like all of a sudden I'm running 2,700 miles to Tyler, Texas. I'm like, this is rad, man. And which leads me to why I have the 24 road glide, because somewhere just outside of Chico, Loco threw the belt on his 23. And so we're dead in the water on the side of the highway. And we call up Chico, Sierra Steel Harley. Say, you know, we're broke down, and they come and get the bike. We end up at Chico, and they don't have parts they don't have a belt. What dealership doesn't have a belt? But they didn't have a belt, and his pulley his pulley was kind of sheared a little bit, and so I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this brand new 24 blacked out road glide, and he's looking at it too. He's like, man, I love to trade. I just trade them. I just, I'm in the 23. I could trade that in, man. But he says, I can't do it. I'm in escrow on my house. And so we're sitting there. It's like 5:30 at night. They're closing at 6. And we're kind of stuck. And so we had a way to go. And it's gosh, my mind's going blank. Gosh, that's really bad too. One of the Hoka Hey riders out of Concord, somebody will probably say his name on the chat, but he was going to bring up a bike, and so Loco could have a bike and we could finish the ride. It's 30 minutes before they close, and I'm like, Tim comes walking out of the sales office, and he goes, "This guy's going to wholesale the bike to me. It's the last 30 minutes of the year. It's the last deal of the year." And he tells me the price on it. And I'm like, what? He goes, and I can't do it because I'm in escrow. I'm like, give me 30 minutes. If you see me give you a thumbs up, I've got the bike. You start switching everything over off of your bike onto my bike, and you're on my 07. We'll finish the ride. And he's like, what? Really? And I said, yep. So, I did the deal, and I bought that bike. We switched everything over. Took off. By this time, everything switched over. It's like 8:00 at night. And I'm on the highway on a 24. No idea what anything does on the bike. There's no moon. Every time I got these fat gloves on, and every time I move my hand, I'm hitting the kill switch on I-5, flying down. Luckily, I'm like, well, it's the kill switch. I can get it back on, and bike comes back on, But by the time we hit New Mexico, I had everything figured out on that bike, but I had no heated gear. I had heated gear on the 07, but to my mind, there was no plug-in on that bike, which is another funny story later. But well, I could say it now. Once I got to Tyler, Texas, Chad notified me that there was a plug-in underneath the seat come factory on that bike, and kind of laughed at me like I was an idiot. And I'm like, so we pull the seat off, and there's the plug. So the whole time I could have had heated gear. It was 28 degrees going through New Mexico, and I'm like freezing, but that's how I got the 24, because Loco broke down. And but side story, when we pulled into Tyler about a mile out, Dora, the 07, had lost its clutch bearing and was singing like crazy. So we pulled in. That next morning, we went to Lone Star Harley, and they repaired the 07. They went and got all the parts that were needed if the transmission was bad. They didn't know what was wrong with it because they hadn't gotten into it, but their lead tech heard it. And he's like, man, that could be the transmission. It could be anything. They went and got all the parts. This is a Saturday, I think. And fixed the bike by the time we got back from the group ride for Mile Monsters. And they did the 1K service on La Fonda. And that dealership right there is the best dealership that I've ever been to in my life. If I'd almost moved to Texas just to have Lone Star as my home dealership, because the service that they provided there was phenomenal. But anyways, that's and then back to your initial question. I got to meet the Mile Monsters when I was there. Raindrop, Twister, Wrong Way, Iceman, Chase, Snapshot, Mandy and Chad and Jade, Frankie, everybody. That was one of the coolest parties I've ever been to for a New Year's. You got to meet everybody, and I'm like, these people are awesome, and got to hear about the Mile Monsters that I knew about through Loco, but really got to hear about it. And most everybody there is a Hoka Hey rider, definitely a long distance rider. And I was endeared, and the mission of Mile Monsters and what they do really became a part of something that it became something to me to really support, because the Hero Boys and because of how it's done. But I got to hear Wrong Way kind of pulled me aside and he goes, "You're going to do the Hoka Hey?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, here's what you need to know. And
so Frankie really commented, Wayne Skinner, I think.
Wayne Skinner. Yeah. Wayne Skinner. I'm sorry, Wayne. Sorry. I got him in my phone. He's a great guy. When we got back, I had to leave. When we got back into California, the rear tire on the 07 was like on ribbons. It was coming apart. So we ended up leaving the bike at Wayne's house. And then a couple months later, I drove down with my wife and picked it up, brought it back. Wayne's an awesome guy. And truly that was another thing with the Hoka Hey. It's really like a family of long distance riders that just back each other up. And everybody's kind of get the same mindset with riding and supporting each other. It truly is a family. You can call any one of them that and they're like there for you. And Wayne was really instrumental, and he was going to bring a bike up for Loco to ride to Texas. They're like, "Hey, I'll bring my bike up. You can hop on it and and go." Who does that? I don't know. I've got a couple of friends that I ride with that might do that for me. Like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna go on a ride. Oh, your bike's down here. Take one of mine." Maybe. I don't know, but yeah, that was so. Anyways, what got me into the Hoka Hey was really seeing what it is, the challenge of it, who's doing it. I'm in. That's like the ultimate in long distance for me. The personal challenge of it, and I went from like the biker group mentality of riding, ape hangers, loud pipes, leather, the brotherhood, and all that, which I really do still love. And my MC friends and group rides and things, and that support to a whole nother mindset of long distance riding and what it takes, and the setup on the bike, and the support that you basically end up having to be able, like, I could go walk out in my garage right now, basically hop on that bike and go to Salt Lake and see my daughter without even, all I got to do is put the gear on. It's already set up for it. Just go get gas, go. And whereas before, there's a lot of thought that kind of goes into riding anything beyond going to the next town or county and everything. And that I've always been kind of a traveler anyways. And so and I, grew up surfing and traveling and going to different surf spots and everything, and always had the van set up with the boards and all, just in case something, some swell came in, and that's kind of the mentality on the bike is just, being able to do that, look at the wife and go, what are we doing this weekend? Oh, let's go to Washington. Let's go to Idaho. Let's get out of here for a while. And she's like, yeah, put the gear on, go. But yeah, that's kind of what drew me to the Hoka Hey, and the adversity that everybody went through with that, and to be able to have that story and those memories in life, and the vanity maybe of it, of being able to say I did it.
Yeah, you got Frankie comment, all you had to say was a good guy from Northern California.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually from Southern California, Ventura.
Well, no, when we were talking, like Wayne Skinner or somebody, I think that's what he's going back to. He goes, like, all I had to say was a good guy from Northern California. And I think I met Wayne.
That's
I can't
awesome.
remember.
That's awesome. I'm glad to be.
But then you got a challenge though, because if I remember right, aren't you dual fundraising for the Hoka Hey this year?
I am. When I first started thinking about it, I wanted to raise money for candlelighters for children with cancer. When I first really wasn't thinking about Mile Monsters, and then I got endeared with what Mile Monsters does, and I want to support. And the reason for the candlelighters thing was that in 2014, my oldest son, Christian, was just getting ready to turn 5. He developed lymphoblastic leukemia, and for 6 years of the treatment for that, and what the hell that we went through, or he went through, and the family. I was a general contractor at the time, which, if anybody knows what that lifestyle is like, it's feast or famine. If you're not working, you're not making money. And here I'm living on the coast of Oregon, and my son is at Randall Children's Hospital in Portland, 70, 80 miles away. And, the family's half out there, and I'm trying to work, and Candlelighters was really instrumental in supporting Christian and supporting us. We had that, and we had Make-A-Wish, and we had a lot of grace and a lot of help during that time. And I was mentally myself, I was in a pretty bad state, because I'm a type A personality, got to control everything. And here my son's got lymphoblastic leukemia, and I can't do anything about it, and so I'm trying to hold everything together. And Candlelighters was there. They were there. They were there for him. They helped him, made him feel like a kid. It's similar to what the Mile Monsters do for the boys with DMD. And so I had made it up in my mind and talked to the wife, and I said, I really want to support them. I want to give back to them, because it was, it's kind of hard to talk about it, because it's, I end up crying, but they really helped out, and I wanted to give back. So I made that decision to do that. And then I jumped in, both feet. And then here I realized, now I'm also supporting Mile Monsters. And that'll be, for me, that's lifelong. That's something that I'll continue to do. The Candlelighters, I want to give back. I want to match what I got a figure in my head on what they provided for us. And I want to go beyond, so that there's other families that are impacted and helped out like we were. And I'm going to do that for this Hoka Hey, and I'm working on that. but the Mile Monsters thing, that's going to continue on after the Hoka Hey. What really gets me about Mile Monsters is there isn't any red tape. There's Bryant says it kind of, he says some funny stuff about Make-A-Wish, you know, and the red tape, and it's so true. Mile Monsters, I mean, it's direct support, and you know, it's a tearjerker of joy to see what's done through everybody for these boys. And so I have the awesome responsibility of having two charities that I'm supporting, that I'm looking for, you know, support with, which, man, if I don't know if that was a great decision. It's really tough because you know, I want to produce. I want to produce, and you know, I want to be effective in it. And with writing, and in the writing community, it's, I think, you know, humbly say, it's a little easier to support Mile Monsters than it is for candlelighters. I mean, the target group for candlelighters aren't riders, you know, but they're, and then candlelighters is in Washington and Oregon only. But anyways, I mean, it's hard to express. It's a lot of work.
I don't doubt it.
For anybody that, I mean, you know yourself, you got a good venue and with V Twin Life, and sponsorship is like, they see what you're doing. You've got a web presence and everything. I don't have that yet. I'm working on building up something with SeanRides.com and all that. So anything that I'm doing around sponsorship, I mean, it's cold call from the boilerplate, trying to find them. And I've got kicked in the shins a couple of times now with, I think money's tight all around, and trying to get sponsorship from people is a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
People don't just give it away, right? But yeah, so I'm supporting both, and I've got the honor to do that, and the responsibility to do that, and I'm looking forward to producing for it, you know.
It'll be fun to follow along. I mean, like you know, you talked earlier when it comes to the Hoka Hey, not, you know, and everything gets going, and all the trackers and everybody. I mean, my wife and I were just, you know, you get home, you're always on, okay, who's where, what's going on here, and
yeah,
it gets addicting watching. Like, and then of course, Frankie Mouse, you know, got respect for what you got doing, or what you got going. Excuse me.
Yeah, that 24. So at work, I work for a local jurisdiction here. In my office, I've got these two huge computer screens. You know, they're massive for looking at construction plans and everything. And so I got one, I got work up, and the other one I've got spot wall up, and the tracker. And then my boss is walking by. He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, you got to minimize that screen." You know, they're trying to figure out which screen way I could turn it so I could keep it up there and still work, you know, and nobody would know. The guys I work with, they're like, "Are you still watching that?" I'm like, "Well, it's just up, you know." I'm like, "I'm not using that screen right now." It's kind of like watching it like, you know, a soap opera TV or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. I'm optimistic. I think that I've gotten some pretty good advice. I like my setup. It's certainly not the Hoka Hey. You know, I haven't done anything like that. I've done 3-day trips, Hoka Hey camping on the side of the road. I think I've got it. I think I've got it dialed. It'll prove out whether I do or not.
You'll figure it out when you get there. You know, day 2 or 3 is like, cool, this piece ain't working, but
no, yeah, chuck that thing out of the way.
just figuring out what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I had fun when I went to, in 22 seeing everything, and it is fun to, excuse me, nerd out and look at everybody's setups and ideas. It's like, hey, that's really cool. But to the bottom line, you got to figure, cool, what's going to work for me?
Exactly. 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 I think I'm fortunate that I've been surrounded in the last year and a half with proven Hoka Hey veterans, and gotten to glean some really good information and looked at their setups and I ride. I don't ever winterize the bike. I've ridden just about every day with few exception, and purposefully done some pretty good trips, trying to prove gear and what works and what doesn't work. And I certainly have my hydration system down. I know that. That's the biggie, right?
Hey, gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah, that's key. That's key. It's and it's summertime here, and some pretty good rides across the country in some just incredibly hot weather prove that out to me. I got some tweaks on my gear, my riding gear, my riding suit stuff that I have to do, and got some good pointers from Pat Cornell, Vroom old man.
Oh, yes.
For that. I had the honor of riding with him on that, when he was going for the 125 and 125 days. He came up through Oregon, and he was nice enough to pull off. I ran down, was going to try and meet up with him in southern Oregon. And he's like, "Oh, you're coming down? Yeah, where are you at? And I'll send me your location. I'll send you mine." And then him and Jack Daniels pulled off the side of the road where I was at. And I'm like, really? This guy's super cool, super nice. Didn't have to do that for me, man. I'm not the one trying to pull off a world record here and pounding the miles like that. I mean, he's such an awesome guy.
Oh, yeah. When he was in Idaho with a friend, and I remember I can't remember, Shell Federson, rider of Dick. She either sent me a text or she called me. I can't remember which. Said, "Hey, I gave Pat your phone number. He wants a good route through Washington. He's going to be calling you." I'm like, oh, okay. So I ended up chatting with him. Fuck, I think we probably chatted on the phone for an hour and a half. And he's like, "I want to see some cool stuff." I'm like, "Well," it's like, I'll put together the best route, taking into consideration you still got to make some time. I said, if you had time to spare, this would be better, but you don't. So kind of help, put together a route for him and get him some sites through when he was coming through Washington, which was pretty cool. Talked to him for quite a while. He is a super cool guy. I need to reach out and get in touch with him and get a Milepost going with him here really soon.
I ended up on the phone with him for well over an hour one time. I'm like, "Hey, I just wondering how you're doing out there." And I'm just sitting there. He's on the road.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a fun conversation, keep his mind occupied while he's pounding the miles out, everything.
Well, I've had a few of those phone calls, like with Frankie Mountains, when he's on some of his crazy things. He'd call me, "You busy?" "No, what are you doing?" "I've been riding for about 20 hours. I'm here." I'm like, cool. Weekend mornings when I have coffee, and I'll talk to Frank for a while and keep Frank alive. And, like I said, occupy the mind and get him out of the drown to just riding and whatnot. No, it's, what you do for your, our fellow riders and friends. It's always fun to talk and hear about the adventures, but sometimes they just want to talk because they're tired, but they got to get where they're going. And that's a cool, fun thing.
Right.
Thank God for all of our communists that we all have.
Yeah. 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 Good times. And it's good to, when you're out there, to have a break, mentally, be able to talk. So, yeah.
Actually got this one. So do something different. What's the story behind this? I mean, I'm sure Lolo Pass is one of my favorite places to ride. I love Lolo.
Lolo Pass. I think that was coming back from the rendezvous. Uh, Loco and I rode out to Bardstown, Kentucky, and then we ended up leaving Bardstown and running up to Brainerd, Minnesota, and met up with Craig Johnson, Wild Ass, which is I bought a Wild Ass on that trip, and then came back North Dakota, Montana, and then decided to come back down through Lolo Pass. That was, I think that was the trip, because I've done that 3 times now, and that was a bucket list for years.
I love Lolo, but talking Wild Ass, that shameless plug. Tell you what, these things are comfortable. Use that code D-Woods, get free shipping. That's all I'm saying. Wild-ass.com.
Well, I'll tell you, that does, if anybody asks me, what's the number one thing that you have on your bike or that you use that you wouldn't do a ride without, and that's my Wild Ass. And for me, I was pounding miles, and I got that 24, and I broke that seat in going to Tyler, Texas, and Loco's like, dude, you should get a Wild Ass. You'd be a lot more comfortable. And I'm like, because I'm on the 24, I'm just a brand new seat. That's like sitting on a concrete loaf of bread. I mean, it took 5,000 miles for that thing to start, breaking.
I love it. Mark Neosi, cough. Use promo code Marky Mark.
Marky Mark.
Shipping also. You gotta love. Hey,
you're gonna get all the promo codes. Use
there's
promo
so
code
many
Loco.
of us that work with him.
Yeah, you should use promo code Loco because it's short and it's LOKO, and you'll get free shipping.
Hey, D Woods is just classy. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Make
sure when you go to wild-ass.com, if you don't put that dash, you might see things you don't want to see. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And if you're on a government computer, be careful about typing that in the search engine. HR doesn't like it too much.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I speak from experience on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, just get a good seat, whatever. And, a pad, and Loco's telling me about it. And he's like, yeah, man, it's because you've got a promo code and you're just trying to oversell me and everything. We left Bardstown, and we went up to Cincinnati to drop his wife off at the airport. And she got off the bike and was getting on a plane. When she got off the bike, she goes, hey, Sean, you should try this Wild Ass seat pad. I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll put it on the bike and I'll ride. Well, so we get on the highway, and I got this, and I'm thinking, this is pretty cool. It feels really good and everything. I got it all adjusted and everything. And we rode up to Brainerd, Minnesota. That was 1,100 miles that day to get up there. And we're going up there, jugs on the highway. There was one other rider going up the highway from Bardstown headed north. And we actually saw Craig in the Wild Ass van. We're tracking with him, for gas stops and everything, going up to Brainerd and all that. And Loco's like, I guarantee you're getting a Wild Ass pad when we get there, because we're going to Wild Ass. We're going to headquarters. He goes, I guarantee it. You're going to get one. I'm like, whatever. And I'm not spending the money on that. I got things I spend money on, blah, blah, blah. It's like 97 degrees, 99, 102 the whole way. I'm taking my shirt off and dipping it in the Rambler jug and putting it back on wet. We're just cooking. It's miserable hot. We get up to Wild Ass headquarters, and I stepped off that bike after riding 1,100 miles with that Wild Ass, and my legs felt great. I felt good. I could keep going. I'm like, what? Really? I
Yeah.
have to have one. I have to have one now. I'm like searching through, do I have enough money? If I use this credit card, what I would, so I told Craig, I said, I got to buy one from you. You got one? And he goes, I don't know. We just came back from a show. I don't know if we've got any stock. So he said to Callie, hey, go dig one out for him if we have one. I got one, and I got back from that ride and I bought a second one for my wife. I mean, it was immediate. And I'm like, I would never ride anywhere without it. And
Oh, they
I
are.
tell, huh?
Oh,
What's
they
that?
are. They're amazing. Of course, we got Frankie Mountains chiming in, riding for kids. Use that promo code with Wild Ass. That'll also get you free shipping with Frankie. Get a little note for him. But no, it's like, my wife and I, we went through all their little training to become certified assologists because we worked for them in
Yeah.
Sturgis in 23. We spent a week over there. And no, they make a huge difference. I mean, there's no way my wife would have made the ride over to Sturgis, doing, I think our biggest day was about 700 miles. And there's no way. I mean, they do make a difference. You set them up right, and it is a huge difference in that
It's a huge
when it comes to
difference.
comfort.
I mean, who would think, and you see pads all the time. There's all kinds of pads out there. And hell, you could buy them on Amazon. They're basically balloons. You got 2 balloon pads, and there's foam ones you can get and all that. And I'm because of that, I'm thinking, well, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. And actually riding with the Wild Ass. I mean, the technology in it and what it is, hands down, number one thing you should have on a bike. I mean, it makes such a difference. And I don't care if you're riding 5 miles to the bar or you're riding 1,500-mile bun burner. You got to have one. It makes all the difference in the world. And a couple people have said it, and I kind of agree with it. It doesn't matter what the seat is underneath you. I mean, it does. It's your stance, your where you're sitting on the bike. That means a lot and everything. But
Well, that just comes down to the side, what type of cushion you need for, whether it's classic, the saddle, the pillion seat, and
right.
then getting the right one that's going to fit on to the seat that you have. They got the 4 different models of them. You got the 3 different bladders, the polyurethane, the urethane with gel topper, then the neoprene medical grade rubber cushion, which that's what I swear by. I mean, I got one on my bike. My wife has one. There's one of my sons, and I'm sitting on one.
I went through 4 seats on that road glide looking for something that would work. And I'm, spent money, Mustang, Saddleman, didn't like any of them. I ended up back with a Harley Sundowner because it was it set me down in the bike. It felt right and everything. And then I'm like, well, I got my Wild Ass. And it
Cheaper
just
than a seat.
it's the thing about it is that you can change it. So you're there in the saddle for hours on end. You can just adjust it slightly and it's a whole another world for your butt. I mean, it's legs feel good. That's the number one thing. It's
it's just the number one thing is just getting the air, the air set, because you got I think there's 18 interconnected air cell chambers. People think it's crazy. They come up and touch them. That thing's flat. It might feel flat until you sit on it, because all those air chambers,
right.
air cells are all interconnected. So you want about 5 cells totally full to start with, and then adjust it from there. And like I said, it's just, there's that little valve. You open up the cushion, and just the tiniest bit of air release makes all the difference you need. And like I said, that's a great thing with the Wild Asses. They're going to contour to your ass, and you make it fit you. And miles of smiles and comfort.
And riding in the heat, I mean, separate you off of this leather, pleather, Naugahyde seats that we all ride, and it makes it bearable in the heat.
Yep.
Yeah, wouldn't go anywhere without it. And then for the wife, for a pillion rider, which I've never been a pillion rider ever in my life, and I couldn't imagine sitting back there and not being in control. But you're sitting back there, you're kind of stuck in one position. And for her on this trip, and we went to the bash and crash and everything, I mean, it was it made it. She was great. She had a great time. She was comfortable the whole way. And yeah, I think it would have been a whole nother ride for her without that. It really made it for her. So that's the one piece of gear that if you don't have one, go get one. It's imperative to it. It's just a whole world. But yeah, back to Lolo. So that was that trip, and then I've been through there a few times. Actually skinny dipped in the Clearwater River up there last August. Like,
that's a beautiful ride. It's one of my favorites.
You figure going through a canyon like that, it's going to cool off because you're next to the water. No, there's no tree line in there where you can pull off in some shade. But when you're in the middle of summer, all the shady spots are taken up by tourists. And
what's crazy is all the white sandy, I mean, I guess you can call it beaches all along that river. All nice sand and
it's a phenomenal.
I've never stopped though and actually touched the water, but I've done Lolo many times. That's one of my favorite rides. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
And I've heard it on the Montana side. It was the Lolo Steakhouse. I've heard it's amazing, and I need to stop there one of these times and just find out, because I heard it's one cool place. And actually, Ride for Food, she's got a great channel. Stacy, I can't remember her last name, but yeah, she did a video at all. That place looks like it's freaking cool. Just an awesome old Montana bar with some nice fucking steak. So I'm gonna have to get there and check it out.
Yeah, I heard that too. Got to do it. Yeah,
for sure. Well, shoot, Sean, man, we're getting on almost an hour and a half, but no, it's been a lot of fun, man. Thank you for wanting to come hang out and share the adventures, the stories, and everything. So we can help. As you get stuff going on, you got SeanRice.com. As you get more stuff, man, I'll gladly help share and help promote what you got going on, and get some attention going. However, I can help you as the Hoka Hey gets closer for everybody.
Well, I sure appreciate it, and I'm honored for the invite. And it's been a blast, and I probably rambled a little too much. And
no, it's good, man. It's always fun when you get somebody that likes to talk. It's like, heck yeah, man, this is gonna go. And no, it was cool. Great stories, and no, that's what it's about, man. I thank you for coming on and wanting to talk and hang out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monsters Over Mountains. That's got that on the calendar. That's I think that'll be the last shakedown ride before the Hoka Hey. But yeah, looking forward to getting up there pretty soon. I'll come find you. And
do it.
I want to take the wife around the peninsula up there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, cool loop. I mean, it is. There's some great riding. Some some place not so scenic, but no, the loop is cool. There's some neat stuff to be found, and it's a nice scenic ride.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, next week we're going to do Milepost 161. This one was going to be fun. If you guys tuned in, we had 157 with Mark, aka Jug Radloff. You heard us, talk about his parents. Basically he grew up going to Sturgis. And his parents were huge into motorcycles, and unfortunately he lost his father in 24. But his mom was also very inspirational, all of his stuff. And so this coming Sunday, we're going to have his mom on telling stories and adventures. So Denny Radloff, she will be joining us this coming Sunday. So dude, this is going to be a blast, because all the stories and everything that Mark had. And when I, reached out to her and we got in touch, and she sent me a 6-page email that she typed up of all kinds of motorcycle history. I'm like, holy cow. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So guys, if you want to see a great Milepost next Sunday with Mark Radloff's mom, Denny, it's going to be pretty cool to hear her side of some of the stories that Mark told. But I don't think I've ever had a parent or a relative of somebody. So this is going to be first. It's going to be a lot of fun, and something I'm looking forward to.
Cool.
And that's all I got for tonight.
Cool.
So, hey, Sean, thank you. And everybody, man, thank everybody for tuning in. Y'all guys have fun, ride safe. We'll catch you in the crossroads. And hey, Sean, if you do come up, man, for sure, get a hold of me, and we'll be in touch. Hopefully before Monsters Over Mountains, but